we're going to pick a topic now, and it's going to specifically talk around unexpected deaths within movies. And there are a couple that I have to mind. And I'm not talking about any particular era here, but just around either your favorite or notable deaths within a film that were unexpected. That's all of a sudden you just went, Jesus Christ, where did that come from? So it could be something like a prominent character just being killed off all of a sudden, or it could, in theory, be something that you didn't expect as regards to the type of death. So over to you guys if you've got anything off the top of your head.
I'm going to put one out there straight away, but we don't have to linger on it. Bambi's mother.
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I don't really remember watching Bambi for the first time. So I'm not that sort of haunted by it. But I can imagine kids seeing that for the first time, especially if it was in the cinema. And what was Bambi? Was it 60s? 70s? Whenever it was.
Yeah.
You know, also audiences would have been not as desensitized as modern audiences are. And I can just imagine a row of kids bawling their eyes out.
The other thing I'll say is as well, obviously, is something that is well known in Disney films, isn't it? Or Disney are known for that sort of heartbreaking opening act. So with Bambi's mother, you can also see Simba's father in Lion King.
Can I just quickly just break in and say there's one worse film for Disney that's disturbing when you're a kid.
Go on.
And there's Pinocchio.
What was it? Sorry.
Pinocchio.
Pinocchio.
The donkey transformation stuff in Pinocchio.
Yeah, but no one dies here, do they?
Yeah, but that's like a fate. With some death, they turn into a donkey.
That don't count, but you can't have that.
Are you comparing that to the transformation of American Werewolf in London or something?
That's bad, yeah. That's as bad. Like, when I was a kid watching Pinocchio, 1 minute you watch this film with this little wooden kid just having a laugh, and then the next minute you got these fucking, sorry to swear all the time, but you got these little kids being like body morphed into donkeys, sitting at this screaming during it all. It's horrible.
I don't care, but I don't care. They don't die. It's not valid for this conversation.
The kids did donkeys forever then. How long does a donkey live?
I will join you on that, Ad, in the sense I do remember being a little bit freaked out by it.
Yeah, horrible.
On this subject of unexpected deaths, so to get us back on topic, I don't think you can count a horror film, can you?
I was going to say a horror film.
Oh, you were? Oh, okay.
I was going to say horror film.
No, go on.
It's quite modern. It's very modern, actually.
Are you on about Hereditary?
Mm-hmm.
Right, okay.
But there's a bit of a spoiler there if no one's ever seen. Have you seen Hereditary, Andrew?
No.
Oh, I won't spoil it. I'll just leave it there. But for anyone listening to this bit but hasn't seen Hereditary, they know what I'm talking about. That rocked me.
But I will say it leads to 10 of the best minutes in almost any horror film I've seen.
Another one I was going to say before I looked at the list online and saw Hereditary there to remind me. One that came immediately to mind is a horror film again, kind of, is The Wicker Man.
Right, you need to explain this to me then, because when I'm watching a horror film, anybody dying doesn't surprise me. What does surprise me in a horror film is when someone doesn't die, but they should.
Because The Wicker Man, Edward Woodward, is like this protagonist, and you just kind of expect him to, like, bring down the little village. Yeah. And at the end, when they put him in The Wicker Man, spoilers for anyone who's never seen the film, but when they put him in The Wicker Man at the end and they set her on fire, I was like, oh, you'll get out of this now. And then you're a bit like, oh, any minute now he's going to break free. And then he's screaming, and then he's like, oh, this helicopter's going to come or something. And then he's just, end credits roll. You're like, Jesus, that's bleak.
Can I give you one which isn't a horror film?
Yeah, please.
So, picture the scene. It's a 90s film. It's an action film, and it's got a lead character in it. And you expect that person to be in the film because they are quite a prominent action star.
Hang on a minute now. I think I know where you're going with this.
Yeah?
I don't. I haven't got a clue.
Go on.
Can I guess?
Well, can you guess who the actor is?
Samuel L. Jackson.
No.
Oh, okay.
No? Although we'll come to that one later.
Yeah.
The star is Steven Seagal.
Oh, all right. Yeah.
And the film is Executive Decision. So I sat down thinking I was going to watch a Steven Seagal film, and he lasts minutes. And it's not what I expected at all.
That's in my Steven Seagal box set, that film is, and I was a bit like, what?
That's great. That's pushing it slightly to say that's a Steven Seagal film.
This is a cameo film. He's only in it for like it's like that's like putting Scream in a Drew Barrymore box set. It's like what? Like I was always a bit like because I hadn't seen Executive Decision for years, right? And when I had the box set and I saw I was like, why have they got this Kurt Russell film in there? And I was like, oh yeah, Steven Seagal's that guy that just dies before the opening credits or something. Like, you know, it's really, really weird.
He dies like in an airplane crash or something, doesn't he? Am I right in that? I could be wrong.
Yeah, it's just like I haven't seen it. I haven't rewatched it since I got the box set. But I was just that's when I realized it was it counts as a Steven Seagal film. I was like, oh, fair enough. Never would have said that, but
he probably made sure that I'll star in this film, but I want to be headlining it.
Yeah.
It's like, Steven, you're only in it for like 4 minutes. Yeah, that's fine. I want my name right at the top, please.
I tell you one that's like kind of, it's not really a death, but it's one that just blows my mind. I think it's like one of the weirdest scenes in a film ever. It's From Russia with Love, the James Bond film.
Yeah.
You remember the opening bit where like James Bond is crawling around? It's not James Bond that dies.
Oh, we talked about this, haven't we?
Yeah, but I remember me, you and Steve were watching it on TV one night, and like, and it just leaves so many questions, that bit does. Because they like, sorry, I'm going on a tangent.
No, that's fine. I don't know if I can remember this.
There's a scene.
It's set in this mansion, and you think James Bond, Sean Connery, is creeping round the grounds trying to get access, and he gets shot and killed.
Yeah.
So within the first couple of minutes, it gives the impression that James Bond is dead. But what happens is they remove a mask to show that it's someone else playing James Bond. And what's been happening is they've been training their guards.
Simulation. Sorry.
Then all you're thinking is, why did the guards sign up for that?
Yeah. Why did it? What if it's not James Bond? Why did they actually have to kill him?
Yeah. I was like, haven't they heard of paintball guns or like a pellet gun or something?
Yeah.
Or...
What's the film that Bond dies and he's in Japan? And so he dies at the beginning, but he doesn't really die. So he dies. They have a burial for him. They bury him at sea, and while his coffin is floating to the bottom, a submarine comes along, picks up the submarine, the coffin, sorry. And then when they open it up, Bond is in there with an air tank on there. That's right at the beginning of a film. That's you only live twice or whatever. Yeah.
They just didn't care to be some of the James Bond films. It was like, whatever, we're doing it. Like we were watching, well, I won't say what happened, but we were watching one of them the other night with me prog, and it was a bit like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like couldn't put down a film today. It was a bit weird. Like.
Well, we did a Bond film as a request for Rewind the Movies, and I think we picked the worst bloody Bond film ever.
Which one was it?
A View to Kill. Time to Kill.
Oh, Time to Kill, sorry. Not View to Kill. That's a pretty good film.
A good friend of mine has a podcast about James Bond. It's just called James Bond Radio. And but yeah, that guy loves every James Bond film ever. He adores every James Bond film.
Well, maybe we should have got him on the podcast then, and he could have explained that particular film to us. And this is coming from a relatively, decent Bond fan in myself, but yeah.
If you ever do another Bond film, right, I'll give my friend Chris a message and see if he'll jump on with it, because he's like a Bond historian, man. Like, I'm telling you, he interviewed Roger Moore before Roger Moore passed away on his podcast and stuff. They do loads of stuff. They have like big crew members from the James Bond films on there, but he'd be good to get. He's a lovely guy.
Definitely get him on.
Really nice guy.
So going back to Prog's guess a moment ago, and I'm assuming he meant Deep Blue Sea. When Samuel L. Jackson dies. And it was straight away when I was thinking about what could we discuss topic-wise, that was the film that I first thought of. Because I remember watching that. It may have been in the cinema, actually. But
It was-
yeah, it's a really unexpected death anyway.
Yeah, I got a. Sad thing is, most of mine are horror films and stuff, which is a bit annoying. Which obviously I'm trying to think of ones, but Deep Blue Sea, that was the one that immediately sprung to mind as well. But it's very funny, that death is like it's quite humorous. I can't have been the only person that laughed at that.
Well, didn't he request, or didn't he want to do that film because he was going to die? Because I'm sure I read an interview or heard an interview with him saying that he took the role because from that moment, he wanted to have the audience second guess him whether he was going to survive the film.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool. Is it decent enough film, Deep Blue Sea?
Would you rank it in the top 3 shark films, or?
Yeah, I would. One day we'll find the best shark film of all time. It's the quest for the number 1 shark film.
There's only one shark film.
So far, number 1 is Baited.
Shut up.
That one with the sharks in the shopping mall.
Yeah, all you're doing is trying to bait me with that answer. Right, I'm going to give you my 2 biggest shocks for me, right? So I went to the cinema to watch this film, and when this death happened, I almost walked out because I was so disappointed that I no longer knew where the film was going. I've since reevaluated and watched the film a number of times, and I appreciate what the film is now doing with this particular death. But it's No Country for Old Men.
Josh Brolin.
And it's Josh Brolin's death as Llewellyn Moss.
It's quite close to the end of that scene, isn't it?
Yeah, but this is the thing, right? Throughout the film, the character of Llewellyn Moss is pitted against the Javier Bardem character and Don Chigurh, and I believed that the end was going to be them two against each other in some sort of way. It was going to be like a Western sort of, or in some realm of Western where one of them's got to die in a certain way. But I was so shocked when Tommy Lee Jones' character approaches the motel and Josh Brolin's already dead. So you've even missed the whatever shootout happened. You've missed. I just couldn't believe what I was watching. Couldn't believe it in the cinema.
It is a full-on like what? Sort of scene, you're like what? Like,
I said out loud. I said, "What the fuck?" out loud when I was watching it. I just couldn't get on board with it.
Yeah.
I do love the film. I will say I love the film. It's brilliant, but
it's a great film. It's just, but I agree with you. It's just like when you first see that, you're like, what? It's jarring more than anything. You're like, what? Like, you know.
The other surprise death for me wasn't as jarring because of the way the film is set up. It's John Travolta in Pulp Fiction.
I was just about to say it. Don't expect that, I don't think.
Yeah. But I say it's not as jarring because you're already used to the film not running in sequence.
What I like or don't like about that scene is a great film, but it's so like there's no like oomph to it. It's just so like matter of fact that scene is because he's such a big character in the film, and the way he's popped off is just gone. Like he's just treated like a henchman in that scene, isn't he?
And that's exactly
in effect that's what he is.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I wanted to do this topic, because there's a number of those where you just think, wow, you know, they're a main character and they've just been killed off. And in that incident, he's been killed off in a really like downplayed way. It's not like he's just been bitten in half by a shark.
The thing is, in that scene as well, he should die, shouldn't he? Vincent Vega. Bruce Willis has got the gun pointed at him. The toaster goes off. It shocks Bruce Willis a little into shooting the gun. So Vincent Vega, John Travolta dies. I don't know where you guys are with this now, with deaths in film. But because of Game of Thrones, or should I say the first 6 seasons of Game of Thrones, where if someone got into a particular position where you're like, they're going to die, something's going to happen here and they're going to die, and Game of Thrones would almost always kill the character, no matter how big the character.
Yeah.
I now, when I watch films, don't get me wrong, if it's old films or if it's fantasy films or superhero films or stuff like that, I'm okay. I can put stuff like this to the side. When it's in like a realistic or somewhat realistic situation where you think this person should be dying here, like they're in that position where I can't see a way out. If they don't die, I almost don't appreciate the film as much.
Yeah.
I get that.
It's because it takes away, you just lose the stakes, don't you? It just doesn't have as much stakes.
And I think that's why I was ripping you a little bit at the beginning, Ad, with regard to horror films. Because as far as I'm concerned, a horror film, especially if you've got a slasher, people are dying in that. So I'm not surprised when someone dies in a horror film.
Yeah.
I'm more surprised when someone doesn't die, but they should have.
Yeah. I completely agree. But just going back to the John Travolta death, though, I was just when we were chatting about that, I just kind of realizing as well why that death is so weird. It makes the ending of that film, like it makes Sam Jackson right at the ending when he said, "I'm going to take this path," and John Travolta saying, "I'm taking this path." John Travolta's path is what leads to his death, which you see in the middle of the film, and Sam Jackson,
But you can also argue that if Sam Jackson had stayed on, it would have been Vincent Vega and Julius. They both would have been in Bruce Willis's place.
Yeah.
So maybe none of them would have died.
It's true, yeah. Or Bruce Willis.
Or both of them. Or both of them, yeah. You don't know, do you?
Great film. Gotta love it.
It's amazing film. I love that film.
Yeah.
Before we wrap up, I got a couple of just notable mentions that I want to put in. You could argue Macaulay Culkin in
Home Alone. He dies in Home Alone.
No, My Girl. But
that film broke me when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah.
But when you watch it, you're like, oh my God, they've just killed Kevin.
Yeah.
Because I saw My Girl came after Home Alone or before? No, it came before.
After.
But I really remember thinking, Jesus Christ, they just killed Kevin. That was a massive character for him.
When she runs up to the open casket and she's trying to put the glasses on him. Oh my God, man, that killed me when I was a kid. I was crying so much when I was a kid watching that. I couldn't take it.
That's such a good show, Dan.
He's crying at that, but as a 10-year-old boy, he's F-bombing during South Park.
Yeah. Oh man, yeah. I'm gonna cry now.
Two others from me. Spock in The Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
He dies towards the end, doesn't he? And then the other one that always gets me, and even when I watch the film now, I always seem to forget it's going to happen. Kevin Spacey in LA Confidential.
Yeah.
When he gets killed by James, what's his name?
Cromwell.
Yes.
I can't comment. I haven't seen that film for years.
That's a brilliant film, and that death is unexpected. Film. Although I will say the death has a different meaning now, doesn't it, to people who are watching it?
Wow.
I tell you another good Kevin Spacey one quickly as well, which is kind of you should expect it because it's said right in the beginning of the film, is American Beauty.
Yeah. But you don't find that shocking, do you?
I did. When I first watched it, I was like,
all right, okay.
Because that's what I thought was so good about it. It was that he says right at the beginning of the film, "I'm dead."
I've got one.
Go on.
I just thought about it. Sean Connery in Untouchables.
Yes. What a film.
That death killed me when I watched it.
Yeah.
I thought, Jesus Christ, they've actually killed James Bond.
Well, I didn't watch Untouchables until university. So that would have been early 2000s when I believe you had it on DVD.
Oh no, VHS! Come on, over
VHS, whatever it was, yeah. And I remember thinking, how the hell has this film passed me by? How comes I've never seen that? And then when we watched it, it was that moment of shit. Bond is dead.
Yeah,
what's going on?
The best character in the film as well. That's the most heart-wrenching thing about it. You're like, he's the best part of the film, Sean Connery. I watched it like about a few months ago. Liz had never seen it before, so me and her watched it. The film is fucking great, man.
It is a great film, yeah.
It is a great film.
Amazing movie.
Any other notable mentions?
Oh, there's a load out there, but it's a case for me. It's a case of what actually surprised me,
Yeah.
rather than saying I didn't want something to happen, or or that was a big death. Like people say, oh, Bruce Willis in Sixth Sense, but if he's not dead, you almost don't have the movie, do you?
Yeah. It's like, well, Drew Barrymore in Scream was a big one. Again, a horror film, I know, but it was a big one because she was the biggest star in the film, and
But again, if she's right at the start of a horror film, I'm not expecting her to live through the film.
But then again, that is kind of making fun of. It's not making fun of, but like it's a nod to the little Janet Leigh and Psycho sort of thing, anyway, isn't it? So
we'll forgo the amount of times that Neve Campbell manages to evade the sharpest dagger in the world throughout 4 horror films.
Yeah. Survival expert.
Yeah.
The only last one from me would be Gwyneth Paltrow then in 7.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
That's
Although technically you don't see the death, do you? Am I right to that?
You don't see it.
It's just her head is in a box, isn't it?
It's a horrifying scene, but it's just, and that's all it is a box lid being opened up, and you're like, great film. Another one of our friend Kevin Spacey in it as well.
Our friend Kevin Spacey.
No, not friend. That horrible man Kevin. Sorry, that's getting edited out.
you like some troubled actors though, don't you, Ad?
Sorry, Melman. He's all right. What did Mel do? What? Oh, well, let me just look it up. Oh God.
On that note, let's wrap up that topic, I think.
Yeah. Before we start a new podcast. Yeah, thanks for having us on.